Hello and welcome to our next webinar session. Today we will be introducing you to our partnership, the partnership between EnOcean and Aruba. And together with my colleague John Corbett, we will be introducing you to the details of this cooperation. My name is Markus Florian. I'm running the sales team at EnOcean in Europe. Just briefly switch out my camera, just a second. So that, 1 second. So it's just, okay, my camera seems not to work. So sorry, I will this time not be able to show you my picture of myself. So my name is Markus Florian, running the sales team at EnOcean, and I'm based in Munich, where we have our head office. So going to the first slide, we will giving you an overview about the agenda. So giving you an introduction, of course, on EnOcean and the partnership. And then John will be talking about this relationship, what it is all about, what are the requirements, and what are, of course, the benefits of this relationship. We'll be also presenting you some use cases where this combination of technology can be used, and of course, the benefits of this. Going on to the next slide. Yeah, on EnOcean, a few words for those who don't know us. So EnOcean, we are the leader in energy harvesting, and we are a provider in self-powered IoT solutions. In this context, what we do is we provide the energy harvesting components and modules which are using standardized wireless protocols. So of course, what we are using is in the sub-gigahertz range, the EnOcean protocol, which we have developed over 20 years ago, and is as a standard in the EnOcean Alliance, using 3 frequencies today: 868 for Europe, 902 for the US and Canada, and 928 for Japan. But we have also added support for other protocols in the 2.4 gigahertz segment. There, namely, we use Zigbee, and also most recently we have added support for Bluetooth Low Energy. In this context, with our activities, we have shipped, of course, components since 2003. Together with our OEM partners. So we have shipped a double-digit million amount of products into the market, and these solutions and products have been used in over 1 million buildings worldwide. So those are buildings ranging from small private homes up to big office buildings or hospitals. We have worldwide activity with our team. As mentioned, the headquarters is in Germany, with sales teams around in Europe, but also we are present in the US and have also, of course, a presence in Far East. Our activities are supported with a very strong patent portfolio. So this is supporting our development activities. So currently we have over 100 patents in over 50 patent families granted. A few words on the next slide regarding this partnership between Aruba and EnOcean, which has been just announced in July. So of course, this is a combination where we, as a technology provider in energy harvesting, where we provide this and Internet of Things data with our maintenance-free and battery-free sensor solutions. We found this a very good combination together with Aruba, and Aruba is of course a global leader in wireless IT infrastructure. So there is a very good combination of combining IoT data together with an existing infrastructure network. And this is a very compelling solution to resolve many of the problems in the IoT space. But of course, we will be talking more into details. And for this purpose, I will hand over to my colleague, John, who dives you through the details of this cooperation. Over to you, John.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Yeah, I'm John Corbett. Again, we're having problems with our webcams at the moment. So I'm Sales Director for Northern Europe and Middle East, and I will go through the Aruba presentation with you. So this partnership is actually set up to address a lot of the major issues that we found in the IoT sensing infrastructure. A lot of the problems we've had is, you've always had to have 2 different types of networks, which is not very good. If you look at the backfill on this, is that the wired solutions are very time consuming, and frankly for IoT it's not a very good idea, because it makes it very inflexible in terms of product placement and things like that, particularly if it's a retrofit. and clearly that becomes very costly to install. Now you've got conventional wireless solutions, and yes, these work and they'll work fine, but the thing is they have batteries that need replacing, and that in itself causes a major overhead in terms of cost, as you have to replace those batteries. Now, whilst in domestic scenario that's not a big problem, in a commercial scenario it's a big problem. The other thing that we've always had problems with is IoT sensors. If they're running on their own network, they can't run on the primary IT network because of issues like trust. If you have a trusted network, nobody will trust the IoT sensors. And so, this partnership is hoping to address that. So how we're addressing it is EnOcean's got a very innovative energy harvesting technique, and I'll go into some of the techniques that we use to do that. But what it does, it gives you a very secure wireless fit and forget solution for IoT sensors. And of course, it does, because it's energy harvesting, it doesn't require any battery replacement. The added advantage of our Aruba partnership is that the Aruba system securely tunnels by protocol the EnOcean messages through the network. And what it does, it will transform what was an untrusted IoT network into a trusted set of data that other systems can use. So now you can actually integrate smart buildings, and you can realize them without high costs. How's it work? So what you have to do is, if you've got a Wi-Fi 5 or a Wi-Fi 6 access point, if you plug a very simple USB wireless stick into the side of this thing, you will then get access to the EnOcean protocol. So basically it's a USB to wireless adapter. You've got to have a Aruba OS version 8.7 or later, because that has the IoT networking within it, so it does the tunneling. And what the access points will do is they'll tunnel our data to a cloud or a local monitoring and control application, and you actually then have obviously a secure WebSocket connection to actually do that. I'll talk about a little bit more how that works a little bit later. And the solution can obviously be incorporated into any of the Aruba installations. And of course, Aruba is well installed into many commercial systems. So it will allow you to actually put into place a lot of IoT systems very simply, without the extra gateway infrastructure that you've always required up to now. So what is EnOcean? I mean, EnOcean's been going now for well over 15 years. This is a good example of how you can actually use it. This is the square in Frankfurt. It's by the airport. And in here, you've got 18,000 sensors. Now, this is more of a BMS type of scenario, but it's not too dissimilar to an IoT type of situation. And in it, you've got things like user input, on, off, environmental conditions, motion, window door status for air conditioning, and then you also got light control, air quality, humidity. So very similar to the type of things that you will see in a typical IoT scenario. So question to everybody, have you used IoT before? This will be a good question for everybody. The reason we're asking this is because, frankly, it's good to know the background that you're coming from, so that we can discuss around that. Because if you're heavy on the IT side, you may not have been involved in IoT, and the other way around, if you're IoT, you might not have had too much IT work. If you could actually sort of give an idea of that, we'll work around that. The background for this really is you may have already been involved with IoT, but from a BMS point of view, so building controls. As I said, they're very similar to each other. But many of what were a BMS sensor have moved into the IoT world now. We've evolved a number of these types of sensors. Up to now we've had IoT sensors. Sorry, we've had PIR sensors that sense light or presence in a building to turn heating on and off. We can now configure up those devices so that they can detect presence. They can also detect the volume of people inside a building. So it really, you're seeing a migration of what is an established BMS system being able to use in an IoT system. Now we can use the same PIR sensors for people counting, for spatial awareness, whereas before it used to be just to check on basic office utilization. Now you're looking at, could I even close my office? Because if it's not being used, I won't use it. Or if I want to use half my office, can I space the people around there? I think we're just about there now, and yeah, it seems that a lot of you actually have used IoT before, so that makes my life a little bit easier. Thank you very much, and yeah, maybe we'll move on to the presentation now. So, what is energy harvesting, and how do we make this work? So, we use three primary ways of generating power with the EnOcean systems. Number one is the kinetic energy harvester. This is used a lot in our switch devices, and showing you there at the moment is actually a module that's used inside the switches that we have in many buildings. You know, we've got about 4 million of these switches around. The kinetic harvester works in an inductive way. You actually move a magnet inside the coil, and the actual movement, the little lever you can see on the left-hand side of that kinetic harvester, generates the power, and then we send a radio signal. And as I said, they're typically used in switches. Also, if you're in England, you'll find that a lot of London buses actually have, in fact, a lot of buses have this type of switch inside them as well. So that is a sort of a one-way protocol. We've also got photovoltaic energy. So these are typically tuned to indoor light. So they're powered by light, but they also got energy storage. So whilst during the day, these devices work well. So you've got two examples here, some PIR, and you've got a multi-sensor. These will actually be powered by daylight from a window, or from lighting if it's a dark day. And then once they're charged up, they'll also stay charged for 4+ days. You'll have 4 to 10 days is a typical scenario, depending on how you're using them. So you don't have a useless device, despite the fact that it's a photovoltaic device. Last but not least, we use thermal energy. So this basically uses the Seebeck effect. So you've got a hot side and a cold side. In the case of a radiator, obviously the radiator's warm, and then the actual device itself is cooler. And there's enough generation with the temperature difference there's enough power to actually generate enough power for the motor control, for thermostatic radiator valves, and the other devices. So these are the three primary elements of these. None of them have batteries, and there's no batteries to replace. So that's the key thing. So how does this all work? So in the case of the system we've got now with Aruba, you will plug the USB stick that we show you here into the Aruba access point. And you can then connect a variety of different sensors. And EnOcean itself can supply you some of the devices that we showed there. But we've also got an alliance, which I'll talk about in a minute, whereby you've got access to thousands of different sensors. So it's a very simple process where you plug the USB stick in, you basically get the access point then pointing to a cloud source, and then the cloud itself, you need to run some software in that to actually then build some dashboards. So the alliance is part of the sort of the infrastructure within EnOcean. So it's actually about 400 companies, all of which are using the EnOcean technology. And you've got around about 5,000 product variants as a result of that. So that gives you a really number of different styles, different use cases that you can actually go for. The standard is an international standard, and the actual partnership itself is also partnered with a lot of built-in automation partnerships, and also a lot of them, the alliance members themselves, are already partners of the of Aruba. People like IA, Connectsteuter, El Taco, to name but a few. I won't be presenting it, but at the end of this presentation is a list of all the partners that you can actually refer to should you be interested. But if you go on the website there, you can also see who it is, and also you can see the range of devices that you can get from the alliance. So you've got this idea, you think it's a nice idea, how do you test it? So we have an IoT starter kit which uses that USB stick that I've talked about. It uses the multi-sensor, and it uses a switch. This kit will be available from Arrow and a number of Aruba distributors from the September timeframe. What's inside it? You've got a USB stick, and this is actually the bridge that connects the Aruba access point to the EnOcean world. So there is a wireless on the USB stick, and that will talk to the EnOcean devices. It gives you a bidirectional interface to those devices. So things like the multi-sensor will tell you if there's vibration or if there's temperature, and it will send that data through the USB port. The switch is an ideal way of a good ready reckoner. You can have a quick look at seeing how harvesting works. You can get a good idea of range and things like that. It's a good test. And as I said, the multi-sensor is a core device in our portfolio. It gives you temperature, humidity, illumination, acceleration, vibration. It's also a magnet contact, so you can see if a door's open or shut. Again, it's got a long lifetime once it's charged up in the dark, and it has an NFC configuration interface should you want to change some of the specifications. We also got some demo software that you can run. This is the localized software. This isn't cloud-based. You actually run this on a PC, and there's some software you can download from the link provided here, and it will give you a dashboard of that information. So you basically point your PC to the local access point that you're using where the USB stick is, and then it will actually show you this data. So it gives you a ready reckoner. So, I mean, if you're looking at IoT, what type of use cases are the most interesting for you? Clearly, that will matter a lot in terms of some of the discussions we go into next. And again, a bit like the discussion I had earlier on, you've got a scenario where what was a BMS or building control system can now become an IoT. And the same use cases provide, whereas once we were looking at office utilization, we're now looking at desk spacing, for instance. So, there's a migration of use case, but nonetheless, the actual devices are actually being used still in a very similar way. Lighting is probably an add-on to some of these use cases. Without a doubt, some lighting systems will be based on EnOcean. You could then utilize those with this system and actually build up a good number of devices and get some good control in your systems. But I think at the moment, the three primary use cases that you'll find are around the current thinking because of the current COVID situation. You're looking at maintenance. It's a very, very core area. And whereas once we were looking at just, do I need to go into the restroom to get it cleaned? We're now looking at how crowded are they? Can you go in? What type of maintenance that's required? And what was utilization? As I said before, we're looking at things like people spacing and things like that. So very similar areas where what was once a BMS type thing is now an IoT type of product. So I think we're getting very close to the narrative. So we've got a very big spread of applications, as we can see here. So assisted living, maintenance, desk utilization, social spaces. So very, very interesting ones. So an energy savings, top of the list, which is interesting. Okay, so I'll put a bit more emphasis on the energy saving because, frankly, a lot of the conversations on the ones before. But let's see where it takes us. So let's go into some of the use cases and the type of sensors that we use with those. First of all, I showed you this picture earlier. The way that you set up a system is not the same as you would with the demo system. So you would typically have the Aruba access point talking to some form of cloud mechanism. And I've got an example here from IA Connect, which is Modis Flow. And this will actually connect to whatever cloud platform you particularly want. And it will give you the commissioning infrastructure and all the data connectivity that you require for things like dashboards. So you've got that a full end-to-end capability. And again, if you go to the Aruba distributors, you'll find that you can get hold of kits that will actually allow you to actually implement this type of system. So what type of products do you need for some of these? So if we look at space utilization and social distancing, I've hinted a little bit beforehand about some of the migration that we've had. So you've got things like people activity counter. That was more of a PIR. We've now got algorithms in that will actually help you understand the concentrations of people. You've got motion tracking, you've got under desk sensing. The vibration sensor is very core to a lot of these things because you can put it on a desk or a seat and it will determine whether somebody's sitting there. And if you want to do proper people counting, there's a people passing counter, which will count people in, count people out, and also build up a model of what's going on. And then for things like comfort and safety and maintenance, there's door lock status that you can actually integrate into a door, or you can put an add-on thing like the window status control there, which becomes a door controller. So all of these things can then be integrated with that cloud platform that we run through the Aruba network, and give you some form of intelligence. So a couple of examples we got here really are on people concentration and showing up where free desks are available. So the sort of areas there, you can see if it's red, you've got a high concentration of people, and if there's nothing there, you can see obviously it's pretty empty. You can also get detailed building monitoring. So a lot of people, despite just wanting, say, people spacing, they'll add on things like temperature, humidity, air control, just so that you've got a comfort organization within the building, so you know what's going on. On the right-hand side, there's a different type of dashboard where you can see exactly where you can't sit, which areas are blocked off, which areas maybe need cleaning. Maybe there's been a spillage. Do we need somebody to come along and sort that problem out? And also, which rooms can I go in? Which desks are free? And this is all then displayed on the dash from the cloud software. Another use case here, more again, if this was more for occupancy, but it will show you exactly where each desk is being occupied. This uses an under desk sensor. The sensor is literally placed under the desk, and it senses your proximity to that desk, and it will indicate which desks are free and which ones are full. Again, added into this system, the users have actually put in air quality, things like ROx, CO2, which can all be added to these things. And then last but not least, you've got the probably more core one now, maintenance, disinfection and cleaning. There are a lot of devices that you can use around the EnOcean network where you've got things like door detection, presence detection. And you've also got leak detection. So if you've got a leak, it's basically a switch. It will detect that the water is actually there and expand little discs, and it will then turn a switch on to actually say there's been some water. So all these sensors will actually help you determine whether or not you need to have a person go into the area, whether the area is fully occupied. Should you go in? Should you not? You've got some signs there that will tell you whether you can go in or not. You'll also have things like vibration detection, which can also be used on like the towel supply, because if you use an AI with this, it will determine how much towel has been used, and it will tell you when to refill. So there are a lot of activities that you can connect there, all of these talking back to what will always be in many of these buildings, which is an Aruba network. So hopefully that has given you a really quick idea of what's going on within the EnOcean world and the Aruba partnership. If I can now, I'll quite happily open up to questions and try and help you out. Okay, so Peter's asked whether or not how does the kinetic switch work on a bus? This actually doesn't work in the same way as I've been talking. It doesn't work through an Aruba router, but basically it is a device that uses the Echo 200, which is the little harvester device I showed you with a push button. And if you look at any London bus, for instance, you'll see there's a very large button there. When you push it, it generates power. It will then send a message to a receiver that's in the cockpit of the bus, and it will ding the bell and also count how many times it's been pushed. The other question I've got from Peter here is the USB used only with commissioning? No, the USB stick is actually part of the solution. So what you have to do is basically plug the device into the router and leave it there. So it's a fixed install once you've got the device in there. You then have to basically have admin rights to get hold of the router, and then you can actually get full access to the EnOcean network via the device. But you do need to have the USB stick always in there. Another question that I've been asked actually from James is whether or not, how do you basically set up this system? And going back on it, how is the USB stick only used for commissioning? You use the USB stick, yeah, but you then, once you plug the USB stick in there, you need to navigate to the IP address of the access point, and then you can get into their configuration and services system, and then you can actually go to this. There's an IoT area where you can actually start to utilize the access to the cloud via the tunnel. So basically, there is a complete system set up within the Aruba services network, and to allow you to do the configuration. Another question from Kai there is, can I use the Aruba device to tunnel an EnOcean signal and send it out again? Yes, you can. So the thing is, what you have to do is you have to route the information from the access point out to something that you will be using. So I showed you the demo kit earlier on, and that basically routes it from the access point to the PC. And so you could use your Aruba, the device, to tunnel from EnOcean through the access point to the PC. In your case, it's whatever you want to do. Maybe you've got a local server, you can point it to that. There's a couple of other questions here from Dave. Is there a plan to integrate the EnOcean receiver into the access points in the future? It's something that's been considered, but I don't think that's on the cards in the short term. This is too flexible a solution at the moment to worry about putting the EnOcean system on board. Having said that, a lot of the Aruba points have actually got Bluetooth, and we can also supply Bluetooth solutions. So if that's something that's of a priority, i.e. you don't want to plug a USB stick in, you could default to a Bluetooth scenario, but it wouldn't give you quite the range of devices that we can supply through the sub-gigahertz route using the access points. I think now I've run out of questions, and I think I'm also running out of time. So if I could hand over to Marcus just to finalize.
Okay, so thank you, John, for this very interesting introduction and overview about this very exciting relationship with Aruba. So just allow me to give maybe a few closing words. First of all, we of course will continue the webinar series. So we have been getting very good feedback from you, so thank you for that. But of course we realize that today's webinar is in the middle of the holiday season in some regions. So what we will do exceptional this time is repeat exactly the same webinar on the 16th of September. So of course, if you want to rejoin, you're very welcome. Of course, please spread the word to your colleagues that we will redo this exact same webinar on the 16th of September to talk about this great partnership. And so if you have Aruba partners or yourself are Aruba partners, again, just join us for the next session. And additionally, we give an outlook on what's coming then next, which is a webinar on the 7th of October, where we'll be doing a joint presentation with CWS on some digital hygienic concepts using our technology. Of course, we got a lot of feedback that you are, besides interest in technology, you of course wanted to hear about real life applications where the technology has been used successfully in the field in various applications. So this is one of the presentations we do on the 7th of October. So again, 16th of September, we repeat the same webinar we had today, and 7th of October, we will then continuing our webinars focusing on application. And then actually I turn to the last slide, which then of course shows you also the contact details. So of course, if you have questions, let us know. just contact us. I'm sure you will have some great ideas on how to use this combination of Aruba access points together with EnOcean technology. So we, of course, will be helping you if you have questions. So you can contact us here, or there is also a specific email address called IoT@EnOcean.com. Just let us know, and we will certainly guide you to the process on how you can get this done. And again, then let me close this session. Thank you for your participation. Looking forward to have you on board again for the next webinar session. Thank you and bye.